Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here. Evergrain. I did me some Evergrain. I don't know what's going on with Evergrain. They're out of Pennsylvania. They're close to Harrisburg, Mechanicsburg. I believe they're actually in Carlisle. Sorry, Camp Hill. Man, I can't get it right. Camp Hill, which is very close to Harrisburg. Anyway, Hershey, Harrisburg. It's all the same. This starts off great. Anyway, I did what they do. I've actually been to the brewery several times. My father used to live out there. My brother lives kind of close to there, so I've been out for a bit, but I've had quite a few of their beers, and it seems like their distribution has gotten quite a bit more aggressive, and that's what I mean. I don't know what's going on with Evergreen. It seems like I see a decent amount of their cans nowadays, especially when I pop over to the Pennsylvania side of things, which isn't too far away from where I live. Not my only, but my biggest issue with breweries in general, but Evergreen is what's the word I'm looking for? Absolved of it? I don't know. They don't date their cans. It drives me insane when breweries don't date their cans because, when it comes to hazies, it kind of matters. It really does. And they do so many different beers. I really try to, it's hard to weed through it. I go through the Instagram, who knows. I felt like picking this up. I don't know if it's old. Again, this is the same spiel I did the last time I did an Evergreen beer, so take it for what it's worth. The flip side of that is that people like me, and consumers as a whole, if you don't date your cans, we only can judge you on what your beer tastes like and assume it's fresh. Rather than going, man, this tastes horrible. Oh, shit, it's old. See, there's a catch-22. A lot of breweries don't date their cans because they want people to still buy their beers when they're a bit older. Well, there's a flip the script to that. And don't get me started on how many brewers have told me it's expensive to date cans. It's not. Sorry. Anyway, Blue Detour is what we're drinking. Man, this has started off as a horrible review. This is more like, let's talk all the negative stuff we possibly can. Blue Detour IPA from Evergrain Brewing Company. India Pale Ale. Pungent, smooth, intensely hoppy. That's an interesting combination. 6.5% right in my ABV level. That's why I picked this one up. And, it's like the kind of, it's not geometric pattern in the other halfy, but it's definitely its own kind of whatever that kind of thing is, and I dig it. I'm not gonna lie to you. The color spectrum, the quality of the what do they call that? Oh, God. Spectroscope? No. Oh, God, I forget the name of that. But something about it drew my eye, and I dig on it. So there you go. Dig the can. I dig that beer, too. I mean, looking at that, you're talking about 6.5% hazy. That's pretty much spot on what I want them to look like. More words are hard. Let me reverse that. Let's rewind. More often than not, the ones that I really enjoy end up looking close to what this one looks like. That's probably the better way to phrase that. That kind of apricot juice kind of color core. Almost white as white could be had. Nice, like, soft edges to it. Definitely looks the part of a nice, relatively lower ABV IPA. Let's give it a nose. Okay. We're dipping our toes heavily into a tropical fruit, stone fruit combination here. You got this kind of candied, stone fruit, candied peachy kind of thing going on. Got diving into the other end, you get this nice kind of mango, sweeter, kiwi-esque kind of tropical fruitiness on the nose. No big grain or precursor to some kind of juggernauty bittering on it. It definitely comes off as a sweeter beer. I don't know if it's going to be overtly sweet in the taste, but it definitely has this big fruit juice, all the juice, New England style IPA, our belong to us kind of vibe to it. So definitely smells quite nice. Let's dive in. Cheers, y'all. Wow, it's aggressively flavorful, and I don't mean to say it in that way because it comes off negative. It is a very, very boisterous IPA, dipping its toe super heavy into the fruit factor here. I mean, aromatically, it's typically like, okay, we're getting these bursting of flavors, and you get in a taste, and you're like, okay, I want it to match that level. I want it to have that rich tropical fruitiness with that nice candied kind of peachiness. It exceeds that. It's louder than the actual nose. And the nose is quite, again, boisterous when it came off. It's like almost to the point where I'm like, did they blend it with some kind of fruit addition or something along those lines? That's how fruity it is. It's quite interesting how aggressive it's coming off in that sense. In a very fun way. This is definitely not a meek beer. This is definitely a 2x4 to the face kind of beer. I've never really had the fruit portion of the show of a beer come off this fruit before. It reminds me very much of like when a brewery does actual dose a beer with peaches and does it right. There's a lot of breweries that do that and it comes off as a goopy, horrible mess. But when it's right because you get this just extra level of fruitiness. It's kind of like that, almost like fruity, like fruit sour, fruit lambic kind of fruitiness to it, as opposed to just a straight hoppiness. So I don't know if there's some kind of voodoo magic thing going on right now. I don't really care because it works. It works. I could see a little trickeration going on. I'm not saying they're doing this. This is speculation on my point. I wonder if there's any kind of like, no, densely hoppy. I could see, and again, this is me speculating. I don't know anything. I could see this being something dosed with that kind of that Flintstone vitamin powder thing that some breweries use. Not a lot of breweries have used it, but some of the bigger old school ones like Ballast Point and stuff like that, when they do grapefruit salt and stuff like that, they put this kind of. And if you've been to beer trade shows, you see these people peddling these kind of powdered additives to kind of accelerate and volumetrically bring up fruit flavors. It kind of has almost that level to it, but here's the thing. Just like with any ingredient that's weird like that, a touch of it goes a really long way. If you get heavy-handed with it, it tastes kind of weird. It doesn't taste weird. It kind of makes sense here. Just with how greatly exaggerated the fruit flavors are here, that's where I'm getting a little bit kind of, I don't know. But let's push that off to the side and just talk about the beer like it's Core 4, baby. Nice mouthfeel. Not going to be confused with the big, turbid, creamy, hazy IPA. 6.5%. Nothing wrong with that. There's a bitter in here, but it's very minimal. It's so utilitarian, and it's only there in like a foundation workman-like essence that it's almost bears no mentioning. It's a New England style IPA through and through. But I think since it does skew quite decently sweet, it is under attenuated. I think that little bit of bittering, while they probably wanted to get rid of that completely, I think it serves a purpose here to add a little bit of balance to this beer because it does skew sweet. As when you dive into the hop portion of the show, it is that stone fruit, tropical fruit combination, that mango kiwi / candied peach kind of thing, with this just a little bit of extra, a little MSG, a little Spinal Tap on it, bringing it to 11 to just make it kind of burst with those fruit flavors. Again, it's almost like one of those things where you drink one of those fruited sours, and it's just so much more than what you typically get with beer. That's where it starts to disconnect itself from beer. That's going on here, but on a much smaller level, to where you're still drinking beer, obviously, but there's just feels like there's a little triggeration going on, like I said earlier. But I think this is really tasty. It's really, really tasty. It's really well done, and honestly, it's a really great hazy. I hesitate to say it's a really great beer because, again, something inside me wants to say there's a little trickeration going on. I don't know. But if you step back and just drink it, taste it, think about it, enjoy it on its own merits, saying this is a Core 4 beer, it's pretty damn good. Like, too good. And that's where I get a little bit kind of weird about it. But as far as haziness goes, in what people look for in hazy IPA, I honestly, if you're a haze bro or a hop thought, or that's your jam, I think you'll go bananas for this. Absolutely bananas bonkers for this. I think this is what everybody that chases hop, saturation hop variety without that big green West Coast thing, they want the New England through and through. I think this is kind of like Mount Rushmore status level for that. It really is, because it just is so vibrant and so fruity and so big. It's really hard to kind of just be like, okay, this is not a good thing, or it's just tasty beer. It's kind of like the same thing. Again, I don't want to keep equating it to fruited sours, Fruited sours beer, not really, but is it really tasty stuff? Yes, and that has a little bit of this going on in this. There's a little bit of that DNA in this, to where I think it's just a really well done, really tasty hazy. Is the way I'll frame it. I'm curious. You got to tell me if you've had this. Anyway, Mount Rushmore status. Hazy's just hazy IPA. Just it's outside of Mount Rushmore status because that little hesitation on my part, but it's up there. Just tasty hop forward beers. It's even higher. Just like again, I can't let myself just believe on this beer. I don't know why. Value and availability. I think it was like $15 off a shelf. Leave you with, if you like what you like this, if you like hazy IPA and you like that really fruit forward stuff, and you really dig on sour IPA or fruited sour, I should say, you're gonna dig this. Evergrain. Have you been to the breweries? Have you had the beers? What's your favorite beer from Evergrain? Have you had this beer? I'm curious, for those that have had it, what are your thoughts? Evergrain, if you're watching that, reach out. I'm curious. Disprove all my ill assumptions and assure me that this is just hops, water, malt, and yeast. That would be really fun if you did. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying some crazy fruit forward goodness right now. Hopefully see you next time. Cheers, y'all.